per 9000's game room.
So rule number 1, if you're going to try and make money by copying another game, is to make sure you get a copy of the game that you're trying to copy and play the living daylights out of it. Sit and analyse it, try to see why it's so popular and what your game needs to contain in order to attract the same amount of fans. As I mentioned in my Bubsy the Bobcat video, this is exactly what the maker of Bubsy the Bobcat did with Sonic the Hedgehog. Well, why am I talking about this now while I'm showing you the game Power Moves? Well, basically it's because the game I've been playing here, Power Moves, also known as Power Athlete, is one of many games which came in the wake of Street Fighter 2. When playing this game though, I am reminded far more of the original, less famous Street Fighter than I am its sequel. Power Moves, known in Japan as Power Athlete, at least on the SNES, the Mega Drive version was renamed Deadly Moves as if a game doesn't need enough different names. Well, it came out in 1992 and was developed by System Vision and published by Kanko. It came out towards the end of 1992, many months after Street Fighter 2, which I want to add because I want everyone to know this key fact. The one player mode on the game is basically the same as Street Fighter. You get no choice of character, you are simply made to play as one guy, in this case an almost Americanized looking Ryu clone with the name Joe. Truly there can be no mightier martial arts name than Joe. Maybe his last name's Blogs, but I digress, you are Joe. You do an energy move from your hands which comes out in a straight line. We all know it as a fireball, just like the original Street Fighter. But the motion to do this in this game is over complex and therefore a pain. There are only 3 buttons, 1 punch, 1 kick and 1 jump. If you are very close then the kick button also doubles as a throw. I did somehow manage to get Joe to do another move. It was a sort of 2-handed dragon punch which went much further diagonally than the ones we are used to. Even on the middle difficulty the game comes across as hard, and this is where the game has a little flair of originality. You don't start with a full life bar, you start with a bit, and by beating opponents this bar grows in size, as do other bars you can see which represent your strength, speed and defence. You can choose who you want to fight next out of all of the enemy characters, but some outclass you by having much longer bars. If you wanted to, you could fight and beat an opponent multiple times in order to fill all your bars and make your future fights against other enemies much easier. You have a set amount of continues which I think increase as you win fights, or at least it seemed to do that as I was playing. At first I found the game so hard that I was almost going to give in, but then it just seemed to click. I got into the rhythm of the game and managed to beat opponent after opponent with very little trouble, and this was without repeating fights in order to level up my bars. I only repeated one fight and that was just to see if it would let me. It only took me about 20 minutes though, and once I'd finished the game nothing changes, you can still only be Joe in single player. And apart from going into the options and upping the difficulty, there's no reason to ever play the single player mode ever again, which is a big disadvantage when you compare this game to other games from this period in time. In the 2-player mode you can be Joe and any of the enemies except for the final boss, which is a bit of a shame as Mega Drive owners got the chance to play as him in their version of the game. The characters in this game are, and I won't talk about Joe as I already have, but here's the others. Warren, a wrestler from Hawaii who looks just a touch like a grey-haired Hulk Hogan wannabe. Rion, the token female, clearly she's inspired by Chun-Li. Vagnad, a huge wrestler with an odd skin colour. He looks like he should be the boss of the game to me. He reminds me of a less weird version of the boss from Street Fighter 4. Apparently in some of the manuals and information released on the game he was described as being a survivor of the Holocaust. Boyo, or however you say it, B-U-O-H, a Kabuki style fighter. He teleports all over the screen and attacks with his hair. Despite having this stretchy attack with the hair Dalsim style, he earns bonus points in my book for not seeming like a complete Street Fighter rip-off. Gulon, an acrobatic Chinese martial artist who uses a pair of curved blades both to slash you and to throw at you. Baraki, a tribal warrior who shoots flames like Dalsim while making noises and spinning across the screen Blanka style. Nick, a street dancing matador. His fighting style uses a combination of break dancing alongside quick slashes with a knife, and clearly he's kinda this game's Vega. Ranker, who, in the SNES version at least, is the non-playable final boss character. He comes across as being a big army style guy. Imagine an old Schwarzenegger character who can throw energy across the floor and do a punch equivalent of Chun-Li's rapid kick move. To be honest, I can't see anyone bothering much with the 2-player on this. Not when you can play all manner of other fighting games. It's not like we were lacking them back in the day, nor are we now. I'd give this game 4 out of 10. It's not an awful game, but there are so many other better beat-em-ups out there. If you want to try this game, I think you'll need to import it. I haven't seen a PAL copy, but I'm sure the Mega Drive one came out over here. I have seen lots of US imports for about £10 for the cart, and a few Japanese ones for £5. I was lucky and got my copy for £3.50 with free postage. But personally, unless you can get it this cheap, I would just invest your money elsewhere. Probably towards something more like Street Fighter 2. Okay, that's Kerr9000 signing off. Keep on gaming.